Worst form of voter suppression is self-suppression.
Yes.
We can talk about how these people are trying to keep us from voting, but in this last primary election, we're keeping ourselves from voting. I'm talking about by the millions. There are 55 million unregistered Americans who are eligible to vote. 55 million. And of the 55 million, 10 million are African American. We have 10 million brothers and sisters who are eligible to vote who are not registered. 10 million. Now, what if we just brothers and sisters went to the polls? You wouldn't have to worry about no Donald Trump. You don't have to worry about what the craziness of the Supreme Court is going on right now. They are crazy because elections have consequences. When they overturn Roe versus Wade today, when they overturned the gun legislation last night, it's a consequence of elections. Supreme Court is a function of who wins. That's who determines who gets appointed. That's who determines who gets approved by the Senate. So for decades, Barbara Arnwine and I have paths have crossed in many different organizations. And one thing you know about working for Black folks, you learn something. About us, we learn something about each other. But I just want to let my publishers know, if you ever want to get in a street fight and you want to make sure that your lawyer's right there with you in the street fight, Attorney Barbara Arnwine is that kind of attorney. And her partner there, Daryl, Attorney Daryl Jones, is also a ferocious freedom fighter. So when they got together and put the Transformative Justice Coalition together, I said, look out. And then, you know, and Barbara, you can talk about how you were able to not only get funding, but how we're going to agree to work together. But I want you to give the information, then we'll make the announcement at the end of your presentation.
Okay.
So without further ado, please greet Attorney Barbara Arnwine and Attorney Daryl D. Jones, Transformative Justice Coalition.
Use this.
Let's see. Justin, no, use it.
Okay, use this one.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben. Listen, Dr. Ben Chavez is just wonderful. We are blessed to have him as a leader in this fight and in so many other fights. We are beyond honored to be able to be here with you today, because this wasn't foreseen at the beginning of the year. And God has his own time and his own plan. And none of us know just when he's going to bring his God stream together. So it is just beautiful for us to be able to talk to you today, because as we sit here, as we watched yesterday, those hearings of the January 6th congressional committee hearings, we realized how close and how imperiled our democracy is, because it's under attack. The Transformative Justice Coalition is a 7-year-old organization. We're active in 27 states in the United States. We have organized, you might have seen it in 2020, we organized 65 votercades covering 14 states. 27 of those were in Georgia alone. We were active all over. You talk about it, Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit. You talk about it, Philadelphia, Virginia, Richmond, anywhere, North Carolina, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, good old Moore County. We were down in Charlotte. We have been everywhere where Black people are. And we have been very insistent on the right to vote. Last year, we were in Tulsa. This year, when the case went to trial, Attorney Demario Solomon Simmons and the people of Tulsa requested our presence in the courtroom as they fought yet again, and this time got some victory and being able to move that trial involving compensatory damages for the Tulsa 2021 race massacre. So we do what we got to do. We go to places that people don't want to talk about, right? We go to the counties that there is no press in. We go to the counties where, Daryl, what did they tell us? They told us that if we went to the counties, they would what? Kill us. The organizers in those states told us we don't go to those counties because we want to live. But the people told us they needed us to come, and we went. And in some of those counties, the turnout for African Americans after we did our votercade tripled. Because one lesson about voting that people never talk about is that voters will vote if they think people want them to vote. Because the prevailing wisdom is that people don't want them to vote. And they're not wrong in that regard. Incumbents like their reliable voters to vote. They don't really care about the people they're not sure about. And that's why we're going to talk about some of those issues today. If you look at us, in 2021, we did 250 votercades throughout this country, trying to pass the voting rights legislation. We work in coalition with hundreds, literally hundreds of amazing organizations. Some of our national partners are Black Voters Matters, National Bar Association, Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda, League of Women Voters, the Poor People's Campaign with Reverend William Barber, local urban leagues, local NAACP, youth organizations. Our young people are on fire. We don't think about them a lot because the prevailing mythology is that they don't do anything. But the reality is that in 2020, the youth vote was the largest that had ever been in history, and African American youth led the way. Not reported, not celebrated, but they led the way. Oh, am I that loud? Okay, thank you, Daryl, because he knows I got a loud voice. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. And our people, our young people are so amazing. And as Dr. Chavis said, we work very closely with Rainbow Push Coalition and the Honorable Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. I want to talk about a couple things. 2022 is here. Pundits are saying what? That Black folks going to sit at home. They ain't going to turn out. They're not going to vote. In fact, they said everybody's going to sit home. And I didn't say everybody. They said everybody. Everybody going to sit at home. And that this is going to be the worst turnout for Democrats ever seen, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we're nonpartisan, but let me say something. Do everybody remember what did the pundits say January 2020? What did they say? New York Times. What were the whole headlines? They said that in 2020, in January, they wrote and said we were going to have the worst voter turnout in the history of the United States. I said they're stupid. I said they don't understand voters. And they said, well, with COVID, with Black enthusiasm, bad candidates, all of this, we're going to have the lowest voter turnout. What happened? We ended up with the second highest voter turnout in the history of the United States. That's why you can't pay attention to these people who are trying their best to predict what they don't know a thing about. So, Black voters, we've been doing our share. In 2020, 93% of all eligible Black voters registered in Philadelphia. 93%. In 2021, during the Georgia Senate runoff, 93% of all registered blacks in Fulton County voted. These kind of things we don't talk about. That's why people don't understand what our real power is. So we need to make sure that when our people will do that kind of turnout, that kind of registration, despite the president of the United States, at that point, Trump, targeting Detroit, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, as we saw in that hearing, Ruby Freeman, right? Shay Moss, Omar Sabir, who people haven't talked about, the elections commissioner out of Philadelphia. These people living under fear because folks were threatening them, picketing their homes, threatening their children, their wives, their husbands, all of this. But we still came out and we still did our job. And we need to celebrate that. So in 2022, we got all the problems we had in 2020, plus some new realities. If you go to our website for TJC, we call ourselves Transformative Justice Coalition. We for short say TJC. But if you go to tjcoalition.org, that's our website, you're going to see that we just published last week an updated 72 forms of voter suppression. It is a teaching guide, if you ever wanted one, on what is going on in our country regarding the right to vote. It covers everything. The poll closures, as Dr. Chavis said, the no souls to the polls, Spalding County, Griffin again, crazy Griffin. They decided they're not going to have any souls to the polls on Sunday. So they forced people to use the Stacey Abrams compromise of voting on Saturday. And of course, the souls to the polls numbers went down. You see, what they don't tell us is that when you allow Black voters to early vote, 70% of all Black voters will early vote if they can. If you have souls to the polls, guess what? 35% of all eligible Black voters will vote on those souls to the polls Sundays. We know that from the data from Georgia, from North Carolina, from Florida. Because of that, they banned souls to the polls voting. We know that early voting restrictions. We know that deliberate long lines, not just long lines, deliberate long lines. And then telling people you're going to put them in jail if they give them water or food while people are waiting in line. This viciousness, this reaffirming, totally concentrated assault on our right to vote. But now they come up with something new, folks. It's not new, but it's just concentrated. You might have seen the articles 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago in Politico and in the New York Times reporting on Steve Bannon, Cleta Mitchell, RNC, the Republican National Committee, that they are training, have already trained 10,000 people to be poll disruptors, to go to only, let me be very clear, to only go to Black polling sites. They're not sending them to white polling sites, only to Black polling sites. They have trained thousands of them to go to disrupt the polling process, to challenge voters who they don't know, not from those areas, to do everything in their power to disrupt the operations of the polling sites. Because if you watch yesterday's hearing and you watched the hearing before, the whole purpose is to say that there's too much confusion, so you can't count those votes. So the state legislature gets to decide how those votes get cast. So this is a concentrated effort to disempower Black voters in several states. Michigan being target number one. Milwaukee. We know that we heard about this attempt now in North Carolina, Georgia, several other states. People, this is one of the things we got to watch. We know that 55 million voters in the United States have their right to vote under attack one way or the other, because it's not just Blacks, it's Latinos, it's Native Americans, some Asian American populations. A lot of people who are disabled get caught in this crossfire. A whole lot of youth are targeted, students in particular. There's a whole lot of badness going on. So how do we address it? Because, see, I'm not one of those people who like to moan and groan about the problem. My life, my joy in life is saying, okay, here's a problem. How do we solve it? Here's a problem. How do we respond to it? But we don't just respond to it. When we do our work as a Transformative Justice Coalition, our goal is not to be on the defense, but our goal is to take everything and make it our offense. Everything, every challenge, every day. That's how we operate. So we must be creative and relentless on this battlefield. We have the tools. Let me tell you some of the things we're going to be doing this year. We're going to have Transformative Justice, clergy to the polls. You see, we ran some model programs in 2020 where we sent clergy, that is, all kinds of clergy, rabbis, all kinds, people from mosques, people from churches, people from every religious institution. And we told them, don't come in your shorts and stuff. Come to the polls in your total vestments. And they did. And it was gorgeous. And guess what? Every polling site that had been targeted for disruption, when they showed up, no disruptors. Now, there's a whole lot going on with that. And I'm not going to try to deconstruct it in this address because we don't have time. But I want you to understand that clergy polls, the clergy sit around, they got a lot they can do. Oh, there's so much they can do. Oh, my God, if we could ever get our clergy to use their power. Whoa, can you imagine if every church on a given Sunday said, everybody, just take out those cell phones that you got. Even if you're watching virtually, take out those cell phones. Go to vote.org for just these 3 minutes and check your voter registration. If you're not registered, register yourself. It takes 5 minutes to do so online at vote.org. Just imagine if churches just did that. Wow. Thousands upon millions of people would be registered. There are so many answers that we have 3 main goals. I mean, we have 5 main goals for this year. One of them is to register the unregistered, right? You're going to hear that always. We need 10 million people registered. But also, our second goal is to turn out those who are registered. Because think about this. The average congressional race, in some instances, decided by 2,000 votes. 30,000 votes, gubernatorial races. All of these really tight races when we know right now, it's a matter of fact, that in many states, African-American turnout, that 25 to 35% of registered voters don't turn out and vote. Why? Because they went to the trouble of registering. Why don't they turn out? Several reasons. Those long lines we know are a big problem for us. Because if you ever gone to the polls like I have, I see the cars just turning around and leaving. I see them. I see the people getting tired and leaving the lines. That's a huge problem. We also know it's because a whole lot of people don't even know when the election days are. We talk about people not showing up for primaries. People have no clue when the primary is. Who's telling them? Who's telling them? You are, thank God. Who's telling them? There's no buses, no billboards, nothing. Where do you see it? I don't blame voters. I blame a government that is irresponsible in engaging voters. Because we know that in the states with automatic voter registration, the average turnout is something like 75%. And that's because people believe that the government wants them to vote. So we got to really concentrate on that. The third thing is we got to have massive voter contacts. People don't think about it, but if you register the average registrant, what's the percentage chance that they are going to vote? What's the percentage chance they're going to vote? A newly registered applicant. They just said, I want to vote. I'm going to register. What's the chance that they're going to actually show up at the polls and vote? 30%. 30%. How do you change that? We know how to do this. This is no rocket science. We know that the way you change that is by what's called massive voter contacts. The more they hear about elections, the more they hear that their voting matters, will make a difference, the more likely they are to vote. Studies show that if they get 6 such contacts, not a candidate saying, vote for me. No, that's not what they want to hear. But they get 6 contacts saying, your voting is critical, important, really matters, makes a difference, counts, makes your family better, makes your schools better, addresses your pothole problems, deals with whatever people have on their mind, your student debt, whatever's on their mind. If they get 6 of those contacts, their chance of voting goes up to 65%. They get 8 of those, 85%. What we do is we register people and leave them alone until it's time to vote. That's the mistake. That's why our partnership will make a big difference in that, Dr. Chavez, because we're going to create that wave of voter inundation, bombardment. So I'm going to stop and let my amazing visionary, oh my God, if you want to talk about one bad brother, I mean, there's nothing like a brother with a beautiful mind, who's bold, courageous, creative, and knows how to get things done. I'm talking about the one and only Daryl D. Jones.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everyone that's here. As Barbara's indicated, I'm Daryl Jones. I'm the board chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition. And I'll tell you that Barbara and I are exact opposites. She is a short lady with a booming voice, and I'm a tall guy with a quiet voice. So we get along famously because of that, and it allows us to do a lot of things. Let me tell you, one of the things that Barbara laid out to you was our experience in Georgia. And I just wanted to drill down on that for a second before I go into some other comments I wanted to make. When Barbara said we're going down to Georgia for the runoff elections, I said, okay, Atlanta's a great place. That's all I think of in Georgia is Atlanta. She said, well, we'll stay in Atlanta. I said, perfect. So we're down in Georgia, we're down in Atlanta, all comfortable. And she said, well, you know, the end of the week, we're going to go to Southeast Georgia. I'm thinking, Southeast Atlanta. Shouldn't be a problem. Well, where we then end up is in Blakely County. And in Blakely County, Georgia, where they asked us to come down, we did a little research. And the African American population there was under threat. There were 2 or 3 major businesses that were there. And the 2 or 3 major businesses were white businesses. They did not want their black people to vote. If they got involved in elections, they would blackball them. They would not find a job, not simply in Blakely County. They'd have to leave and go down to Florida to work. So they asked us to come down with one of our votercades. And has anyone here ever experienced a votercade? It's one of our own creations. A votercade is like a motorcade, 100 or so cars. The votercade will have pictures of John Lewis all over the vehicles. It'll say, protect our vote. Horns will be blowing. Oftentimes, we'll have people marching in the streets along with the votercade, celebrating the vote. Music, we had the biggest, baddest, blackest bus in America.
That's
from
right.
Black Voters Matter, pounding out, I'm black and I'm proud, as we're going through the streets. People from the community coming out to dance and to enjoy and to see what was happening.
And children with their hands up.
Children with their fist up.
Oh, yes.
The message they're receiving is, it's voting season. It's voting time. Check on your status. And where we would do these votercades, we didn't just go from point A to point B. We go from point A to a polling place where they could vote. And in Blakely County, they asked us to come down and do the votercade. And we came down and we did this votercade. But let me tell you what we were met by. We were to take off from an AME church. Barbara, what's the name of the church? The AME church down in Blakely County. And the bishop over the AME church
Yes.
had made the request that we come down. And as we were gathering at the AME church, a pickup truck
Uh-oh.
came by
That's right.
with bloodhounds to intimidate us, to try to stop us, to let us know what we were about to face. But Dr. Chavis, they forgot that the AME church was founded on social revolution and a fight. The only thing that served to do was to strengthen everyone that was there. Their backs were already straight, but now their fists were clenched. And the votercade went on. And folks joined in, and their numbers were unlike any other numbers before when they did their vote count. And it wasn't until all of that was over and it was done, and Reverend Carl Harris was one of the organizers, came up and was talking to us. And he said to us, Barbara and Daryl, I really want to thank you. One of the things you may not know
Certainly didn't know.
was 100 years to the day in Blakely County, there were 4 black men that decided to do a march to the polls demanding the right to vote. They killed 2 of them. The other 2 ran off. It was the anniversary of that killing that marked the day of our votercade. This isn't a game for those that are afraid. You can't be scared. You can't be scared.
Because a scared Negro. Right. There you go.
A scared Negro will get you killed.
In a minute.
There can be no fear in this. But what I want to share with you real quickly, if I may, is what TJC is doing right now. There are over 18 million people that are eligible to vote and don't know they're eligible to vote. They're the felony disenfranchised. And they don't know because they're confused.
Right.
It's a total confusion. It's intentionally done.
Yes.
And understand that with the felony disenfranchisement in the United States, it varies by state. in Vermont, in Maine, in Washington, D.C., you never lose your right to vote. Even while you're incarcerated, you can vote. You can run for office while you're incarcerated. In states like Nebraska, they're exact opposite. Not only do you not have the right to vote when you're incarcerated, you don't have the right to vote while you're on parole or probation. You don't have the right to vote while you're paying fines, fees, and restitution. But after you've completed all of that, they tell you got to wait 2 more years. And then you get the petition to see if they will allow you to vote again. This is a lot of the issues that we're going to be taking up right now, is dealing with felony disenfranchisement. And one of the interesting things, and I'm going to move it as quickly as I can, one of the most interesting things with felony disenfranchisement is I always like to, and Barbara knows that, I like to lift up the state of Florida. Because in Florida, what happened is they had Amendment number 4, where the people of Florida voted to allow those who were formerly convicted of felonies to be able to vote. The conservative legislature there didn't like what the people of Florida decided. So they then added to that a requirement that you had to pay your fines, fees, and restitution. The only problem was the books in Florida were so bad that they couldn't tell them how much their fines, fees, and restitution was. But there were some 85,000 formerly convicted felons that after Amendment 4 was passed, registered. In the interim, the legislature passed that fines, fees, and restitution. So many of those that had been registered to vote went on and voted. 4 months ago, 10 of those people, by the Florida election police that Governor DeSantis started, were arrested and are now pending trial. I lift that up to say this. There is an intentionality in doing this. It is not only to send the message to those that were formerly convicted in Florida that if they try to get involved in this election cycle, they could be arrested. It was a message to all within the United States. Do you want to end up like this? And by the way, the arrestees, they're facing a felony charge for voting. So this is what we're facing. And let me tell you, one of the things, Desmond Meade, is one of our partners who's down in Florida, who's lifting up the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. He said to Barbara and I that the most debilitating day in his life is election day. Because on election day, he's reminded that you're not a full citizen. You can't vote. Every election day, you are not a full citizen. You do not have the right to vote. So we're in the process now, and we've been involved in this, and we've put together a national program where we're going to be addressing the restoration of rights for returning citizens. And, you know, I know Dr. Chavis would kick me if I did not say this. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, that would have addressed this. It would have resolved the issue. It would have resolved the issue.
Or the People Act.
And the People Act would have resolved the issue. Would have resolved the issue of felony restoration. But it's a process that we're in the middle of now. It's something that we're addressing now. And I can just imagine the day, Barbara, I can just imagine the day when a formerly convicted felon or someone who's sitting in jail has the opportunity to cast the ballot for an election judge, has the opportunity to cast a vote for the prosecutor,
Well,
has the opportunity to cast a vote for the mayor who appoints the chief of police and the policy they institute.
yes.
That's what this is about. And you know, I'm not a minister. I was raised by some in the United Methodist Church, but I can almost hear my Jesus saying, the last shall be first, restoring dignity and value. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom. We need to be certain that we include everybody in this democracy. Everybody
Everybody.
in this democracy, including those who have fallen off the path and may be a formerly convicted felon. Thank you.
Let's give them a hand for an amazing presentation. I would like for my executive committee to come up on the stage. Karen Carter Richards, Cheryl, Jackie, Fran. Is Janice Ware here? We're going to make the announcement. Can somebody let her know that we're getting ready to make this announcement? The reason why I want my executive committee, Barbara, we're probably the only national black organization that has all black women on their executive committee. I'm so proud of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Come on up, Madam Treasurer. Cheryl Smith is the treasurer now. Following your tradition. So, Attorney Barbara Arnwine, Attorney Daryl Jones. We're going to make this announcement, and then we're going to take some questions. And I want to make sure that what Dr. Draper said, that we implement. We're here to celebrate, Mr. Bogle, but we're also here to make some news that is going to impact all 50 of our states, but particularly these swing states that we're going to target them. And Brother Daryl, we're going to not only ride in the motorcade, we're going to get some buses.
Yes.
I'm not talking about one bus.
Buses.
We're going to ride for freedom all over this nation.
Yes.
Without fear,
Yes.
without intimidation.
Yes.
And I guarantee you, the young people we had on the panel, you watch young people respond.
Yes.
I just got a message from Jay-Z this morning. Jay-Z and Beyonce are going to join our motorcade.
All right. Yay!
We're not playing. This is serious. Voting for us is a matter of life or death.
Yes.
And we choose life.
Yes.
So on behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, on behalf of the Transformative Justice Coalition, I'm pleased to announce at this convention that our two organizations have decided to join a partnership. And from now, on this day in June to November election, we're going to take responsibility to ensure that 10 million more African Americans get to the polls across this country.
Yes.
10 million more. And the reason why we're saying 10 million more, because some are already going to go, but we're bringing 10 million more.
Yes.
That will make the critical difference
Yes.
in all of the states. So Barbara, I'm going to let you respond, then I'm going to let my chairwoman also respond.
Well, Daryl and I want to say that this is historic. You already have people who are reading your papers because they want the real news. They don't trust what they're reading. They know they're being overlooked by the other papers. They say what? The people perish for the lack of. And we are going to bring it to them jointly about voting. We're going to make sure people have the tools, the information, the empowerment that they can do this. And I want to let you know that every week, twice a week, I'm on the phone with HBCU students from Georgia who are planning a march from Albany, Georgia to Atlanta. Yes, over 8 days, 184 miles, I believe. And this is young people organizing. They came to me and said, Miss Arnwine, we got down this road and we realized that we want a little bit of wisdom, some experience to come in and help us. I said, honey, you don't even have to ask, because that's what I've been waiting for. Your leadership. This is the HBCU crowd, and they're going to lead that march. And guess what? Florida said, we heard about it. We want to do one. Alabama heard about it. So that's how movements go. Hey, that's why, go on, Reverend James. Go on, Reverend James. That's why this is historic, what we're going to be doing, because nobody would know that was happening. Mainstream media is not going to cover that. You don't know, some people never seen a votercade because the mainstream media wouldn't cover it. But it is so important for us to take the great power that we have, that Harriet gave to us, that Sojourner gave to us, that Frederick laid all over us, and use it, voice it, give it to the people. Ida B. Wells, we are here.
All right. In NPA, we have talked about over the last couple of days, unity. And what we need to do is unity. This is no better time for the NNPA to show our power. For us finally, let us take the lead in this, not be on the tail end. We can take the lead and get this done to show the power of the Black press. This is a great opportunity for us, and we got to make this happen.
Amen. Amen.
So we're asking on the front page of all of our newspapers.
Yes.
I'm calling on all 235 members of the NNPA. On the front page, the same headline, the same photo.
Yes.
And you know, we got to, I guarantee you, if we do this, that call and response for millions of our brothers and sisters, it's movement time.
Yes.
C.T. Vivian defined movement as people moving, people getting out of their complacency. And with the Transformative Justice Coalition and the NNPA, we're going to help move our people forward. Get out this vote. 10 million more.
Yes.
10 million more
Yes.
Black voters. 10 million more GOTV in 2022. Will make a critical difference. And Barbara, just tell us, share with our publishers, you've been to all the funding community meetings.
Yes.
That we're not going to be on no broken down buses.
No.
You know, this is we're going to do this with all the power of what we have. But talk to about the possibility of making sure that this is going to be a well-funded campaign.
Well, I'm going to also let Daryl get on this, because this is, you know, Daryl really is the creative genius in our movement, because this button, he designed it. The placards that we put on those cards, he designed them. The big 14-foot banners that we use that people love to, you know, we always tell people votercade, but we always have people who want to march because they want to hold the banner. Because it's 14 feet and it's gorgeous with John Lewis on it. If you go to, you know, our Voting Rights Alliance.org website, you'll see all the videos, but also they're on our Facebook page at Transformative Justice Coalition. And you can see the videos of the votercades, and people just love it. But he designed all that. He just came up with something new. And showed it to me the other day. It rocked me on my heels. He is constantly innovating, thinking. But you're right. We don't believe in bizarre looking, tacky looking, leftover looking organizing.
All right.
We use all the new resources that are out there. Somebody talked to me the other day and said, Barbara, how many staff do you have? I was talking to the president of the League of Women Voters. Of course, they got hundreds of staff. And said, how many staff do you have? And when I told her the number, she said, Barbara, I can't believe it. She said, I thought you had at least 50 staff. And I said, not even, no, not close. I said, but we work smart. We work creatively. And we use social media, whale. And we use our partners. We work with our partners. You know, so many people want to be the one, the most preeminent, the most prominent. We're about the most effective. Let's get it done. So Daryl can address that we are definitely collecting funds. We're, going to that funding community, that donor community, and saying, give us the money. Don't waste it on things that don't work. Don't believe what you're reading, what you're being told by these pundits that keep on leading you down the wrong path. Let us go to the people. Let us talk to the people. Let us mobilize the people.
Thank you, Barbara. Yes, and to Dr. Chavis's question, the buses that you will be on are the oldest school buses you could imagine with the door. No, they are the state-of-the-art buses with the air conditioning and everything that will be in place. They are buses that are secure.
Yes.
I can tell you that when we did COVID secure, we're very COVID compliant.
Yes.
So we're limiting the numbers of people that are on the bus for distancing purposes and everything to make it very safe. We also, throughout our bus ventures, we also have police escorts.
Yes.
So that, we know that, there are folks that out there that want to mess with you if they know that you're coming. So we have police escorts to be certain that that's in place. So all of those are measures that we take to be certain that you're safe in the ride, that you're comfortable in the ride, you're provided food on the ride, and that's it's a very safe and secure atmosphere.
And that the people know you're coming.
Chief Wayne Harris, come up, man. We have a national representative of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, Noble. And Noble is also going to be helping providing security for our motorcade, our Black police officers. I also just talked to the Grand Master of the Masons, Prince Hall Masons. They're going to be on point at every city, at every state, to make sure that our freedom riders, that our motorcade is protected. And I'm so pleased, and Chief Harris knows this, brothers from Rochester, New York, former chief of police there. He works with us with the coalition with Reynolds, and we're doing great work. You can hear from him later, but I just didn't want to miss this opportunity, Wayne, to affirm that Noble, the Black Organization of Law Enforcement Executives, is with the movement to get this vote out.
It always has been. My only wish, I'm sorry. First, my heartfelt congratulations on 195 years. That's amazing. Noble is 46 years old this year. We're an organization that was built for our communities. It was built to make sure that policing was done well. Our motto is justice by action, and we don't believe in sitting still when what we see needs to be fixed and can be fixed is not being fixed. So we are the thought leaders. We are the people that will be there, boots on the ground, and where you go, we will be. So.
All right, yay!
All right, so our photographer, but Mark, you got this photo? All right, okay, all right. So we'd like to put it digitally. I would like to distribute.
Oh, they want us to close.
He's behind the podium. Go that way. Go that way.
Oh, this way. Okay.
All right.
Oh, we got it. Okay. All right. Calm down, calm down. What else? Hands off. Front page. Front page. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Let's get a chance for the justice for the community.
Thank you. Oh, we're so thankful. We're so happy. Thanks to the board. Oh, isn't he something? Oh, thank you.